Hello, 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 beautiful unicorns. Yana Kasperczak coming to you live from Ontario, Fergus, as your certified professional performance and spiritual awakening core energy coach. It has been my soul's purpose to help women, to help you get your shit together so you can break free from that mental prison that you find yourself in and build a business, life, and or career that you are obsessed with. So, on today's Get Your Shit Together weekly live guidance that I do on Thursdays at 11:45-ish a.m. Eastern Time, I wanted to talk about that, about exactly what is it that I help women do, and that is find balance between surrender and control. And when you find balance between surrender and control, we're also going to be talking about how to find that balance in your career, your business, and life. I brought my kitten down here and he is climbing everywhere, getting into everything and into the brand new box that I put some moss into. And he's trying to get in there, probably to mess up my moss. So let's get into it, shall we? Talking about balance. Balance is one of the biggest things that creates general anxiety, because there is a lack of clarity, there's lack of balance, it feels like chaos, it feels like pending doom. Speaking of the little shit disturber, pardon my language, he just took one of my moss boxes down. Okay, it's like bringing a toddler to work, okay? So it's bringing a child into work today. So bear along with me. This is about balance, right? So sometimes this is what we gotta do. This is what balance sounds like, looks like, and even feels like. Right? You bring your child into work and you still gotta work, you still gotta do things while the child is naturally curious. And we don't want to stop that. We don't want to prevent them from being curious. We want to encourage our children, or our kittens in this case, to be curious. But back to what I was saying. Most of the population nowadays lives with general anxiety, meaning that there's no clear reason why a person feels anxious, because there's so much happening every single day that it feels like pending doom, because you cannot clearly pinpoint out what is it exactly that's causing you to feel that anxiety. And that's why it's referred to as general anxiety, because it's about almost everything. And this is why clarity is important. This is why balance is so important. And there are many things that fall under the umbrella of clarity and under the umbrella of balance. And generally, they're all the same for all of us. We all have the same things that we focus on in life. When it comes to us personally, there's our personal self-care, personal self-love. We have a place that we all live in, that we're responsible for a lot of different things within that place. And that includes keeping it tidy and organized. That includes not just feeding ourselves, but feeding those that rely on us. If you have 1, 2, 3, however many kids you have a partner, you have pets, however many pets you have, it's no wonder you would feel anxious and you would feel overwhelmed, and some moments you might feel like the pending doom. This is part of life. Oops, almost took my my camera down. Today is just one of those days that keeps me on my toes, keeps You probably on your toes, but you got to learn to laugh about it, and then at the same time learn, okay, I'm not going to put the cord from this microphone underneath my trusty little board that I have here that I write on and I use as a writing tool. So that's what balance is, literally. You get sidetracked, you get distracted, your cord gets pulled, right? Your nerves get poked, and you can either roll with the flow, go with the flow, roll with the punches, whatever phrase that comes to mind, or you can get upset about it and still use that same phrase. You can get annoyed and irritated about it, or you can look at it and say, okay, well, I just learned a lesson not to put the cord over there and not to use that. Just like last week, I tried a different microphone and I did not like the way it sounded. So I decided I don't want to use that microphone because it's way too sensitive, which is a good thing when you're out in the wilderness, but not when I'm in the office. I don't need to have that kind of microphone. This one works just well. Just making sure that it only isolates my voice. I guess that's the phrase, and it takes out all the other noises. So, regardless, the cord needs to be moved out of the way so it's not blocking me here with my trusty little notebook. That's what balance is. It's a little bit here, a little bit there, and not just hyper focusing on one thing and then hyperventilating about everything else that you're not getting accomplished, you're not getting done. And at the same time, checking yourself in the sense of, are you realistic? Because a lot of us also, we are exposed to the social media, and we hear we have friends, we hear how they're maybe saying how many things they're getting done or how many things they're achieving, and you start comparing, and then all of a sudden you start to feel inadequate. You start to feel like a failure. You start to feel like you don't have it all together. And in some cases it might be true, but in most cases it's actually not true. It's just comes down to your perception. And the perception, here's one perception. Not that long ago, I had a massive to-do list, and I still do. Okay? I still have very long to-do lists for my personal life, for my personal self, for the house, for the family, for the business, and there's a lot of things on those lists. Not that long ago, I would look at these lists and I would hyperventilate, basically. I would feel paralyzed by the sheer amount of things to do, because on one of the subconscious levels, one of the programs that I have received was, I must get it done ASAP. And I'm not doing it fast enough. I'm not doing it dedicatedly enough, that I wasn't dedicated. I wasn't disciplined enough. It was a lot of me not being enough. And then I said, that's enough. Now, there are many tools I have learned and acquired that help me to get shit done without any anxiety. And really, it comes down to prioritizing and identifying what's important. And also, like I said, being realistic and checking in with that fantasy part of myself, because we all carry and have access to the fantasy that we have, that somehow I was fantasizing that this list would disappear and there would be nothing on that list. It's not realistic, because there's always going to be something to do. Always. Why? It's because my mind gets creative and it creates more things for me to do. And it's a good thing, as long as you're not expecting yourself to get these things done as soon as possible. So identifying and checking in with myself, how realistic is this for me to get all of these things done today, and also at the same time take care of myself and have time to do nothing, because it is important for every single human being to have that balance between doing and being, between the masculine and the feminine. And when you spend way too much time in the masculine, which is doing and getting things done, being a go-getter, and the feminine, which is being, which is presence itself. If you spend too much time in one and not the other, you're going to be out of balance. And that goes for both. There were times in my life where I spent time doing nothing and just focusing on being, and I struggled mentally. I was trapped in my head, beating myself up. But that was part of the journey. So I could understand the language that I was abusing myself with, that I was torturing myself with, that I kept myself hostage with. And then there was times where I spent a lot of time just doing and doing and doing. And then that eventually leads to exhaustion, burnout, and overwhelm. So here's the things that you can start to implement. Understanding the difference. Understand the difference between control and surrender. Control is all about taking intentional action, such as setting goals and creating plans to achieve what you want. And it's rooted in effort and strategy. Those are the things that you do have in your control. Things like making those lists and giving each list a title, and then going to those lists and checking things off. We humans will love that. It gives us a sense of achievement, a sense of completion, and helps us to restore our confidence back. Now, when it comes to surrender, surrender is about letting go of the need to micromanage outcomes and learning to trust the process, to trust the universe, and accepting uncertainty. It is rooted in trust, faith, and flow. Both are essential. Control gives you structure and surrender gives you freedom. So, when you set goals, sometimes you also have to attach surrender to those goals, because if you're so attached to the goal and the outcome of the goal, as most people are, I want to remind you of the actual truth and reality of setting a goal. You're not after the goal itself. Yes, part of it might be you want to achieve and reach that goal. You really grow into that goal. But the reason why you want that goal specifically is because of the story or the stories that you carry in your mind. This a reality, and at the same time, reality is part illusion. This fantasy that you carry in your mind that you believe you will experience, which is attached to feelings and emotions once you achieve that goal. Which means that you're not really after that goal. What you're really after is what you believe that goal will allow you to experience through your feelings and emotions. That is what you're really after, and not the goal itself. So, in some cases, the goal itself will allow you to experience it. In other cases, you just talking and sharing about your goal and your plans will already allow you to experience that. And you can recognize whether you're already talked about it and you expressed the goal that you want, that you're going after, and you feel the fantasy that you have created around achieving that goal, and it already feels enough, and this is where you find yourself not going after that goal, or you find yourself half stride, meaning that you're moving towards achieving that goal, but you can't seem to get past certain roadblocks and actually achieve that goal. So, two reasons. Usually comes down to the two. Reason number one, you never really wanted that goal, and it might have not even been yours. And you got everything that you needed when it comes to you and your fantasy in achieving and reaching that goal, right? That feeling and emotion, you already got it. And you don't actually truly want to reach that goal. And another reason number two, is because you got some work to do. You really truly want that goal, but there are parts of you that you gotta work on, you gotta heal and overcome in order for you to grow into the person, into the woman that you're meant to grow and become in order for you to achieve and reach that goal. Because as I continue to mention, and repetition is king, or queen in this case, we don't achieve or reach our goals. We grow into them. Meaning that in order for you to achieve and reach that goal, you must become someone different. Whether it's a lot different or a little different, it depends on the goal that you have set. When it comes to your business or your career, your appetite for the goals and for where you want to see your business might be as big as an elephant that you're trying to swallow all at once. And this often is the very reason why you experience analysis by paralysis and are not going after what you want, or you are and you're doing it in tiny little steps that don't feel like you're doing anything, but yet it still brings you closer. So that is the difference between surrender and control. When it comes to control, um, there are some red flags to look out for that can help you to recognize that you're overdoing it with control. You start to feel anxious when things don't go as planned. That's you trying to control and be in control. And if you learned anything from me, from the universe, from all the other teachers that you expose yourself to, it's what you're being taught throughout your life and throughout your existence, and you will continue to be taught until you finally learn the lesson. And there is no timeline on learning this lesson, and that is learning how to surrender. And you're going to be taught through your feelings and emotions, through your triggers. So when you feel anxious about the things not going as planned, you're trying to control too much, and perhaps it is time to surrender and maybe do less and be more. That is, in many cases, the approach that is very helpful. So that way you can hear how you can learn to trust more and do less. Also, another red flag is your perfectionism kicks in. And that, more often than not, leads to burnout, leads to overwhelm, where you're just exhausted and you can no longer do it, you can no longer tolerate it. You know, when you put too much force, and this is where control fits in perfectly, when you put too much force onto something, it will break, it will snap. I wish I had a pencil, but you can visualize me having a pencil in my hand. When you put too much force on the pencil, eventually it will snap. But you're not meant to put too much force on everything. Some things, yes, it's helpful. While in most cases, if you're feeling like you're about to snap, take a step or 2 or 10 steps back and reevaluate the situation. Look at it from a different perspective, from a different angle, and check that yourself and what you're doing. Because you might be forcing something that you were never meant to do and experience. You might be doing something that you were never meant to do, that you're trying to do it in the hardest way possible, but by taking a step, 2 or 10 steps back, you can reevaluate and you can reassess it. As an outsider, take yourself out of your body. I know, it's like, well, how do you do that? You do it by pausing. You do it by meditating. You do it by, okay, if I was someone else, how would that person see this? What would they say about what I'm doing right now? And it helps you to see it from a different perspective, from a different viewpoint. Maybe you catch yourself micromanaging a situation, or micromanaging a relationship, or micromanaging your timelines. If you're micromanaging, that is a clear sign of control. Step away and trust that whatever it is that you're trying to micromanage, or whoever it is that you try to micromanage, even though it comes from a place of love and you're trying to help and you're trying to make life easier for them, but you trying to make someone's life easier, in return what you often will end up doing is you end up making their life harder. So the best thing you can do is you can just let them be, let them figure that out. I want you to think of yourself when you were a young kid, when you were a teenager. When your parents try to micromanage you and try to tell you what to do and try to lecture you, try to give you tips and tricks and solutions, and you're like, I got this, I don't need your help, I'll figure it out, right? You're that same teenager. Everyone you know is that same teenager. It's not just a teenager, it's you realizing and awakening to the truth that you are a person, that you're a human being, that you have your own thoughts, you have your own mind, you have your own choices, you have your own ideas, you have your own things that you want to do. And someone coming and telling you their thoughts, their ideas, their fears, their worries, it's only making things worse for you. And you don't want that. So stop doing what you've been programmed to do. And I know it's easier said than done. I'll be the first to admit it's easier said than done to just stop doing. We can't just stop doing it. So how do you do that? When you catch yourself in the act, stop the act and remind yourself, they know exactly what to do. They know how to do it. They don't need me or my tips and my tricks. And if they need them, if they want them, they will ask for them. That's why I don't go and I lecture every single person and tell them all these different things. I do a live video. You want it, you listen to it, you watch it. If you don't, you don't have to. You got a choice. And then all the things that I talk about, all the things that I share, at the end, you also got a choice. Do you take action on it? Do you not? Do you question what I say, or do you trust what I say? And I always invite everyone to question what I say, and don't take it for don't take it as gospel, so to speak. Don't take it as this is the truth and this is how it is. Question it, because when you question things, you learn so much more. You start to open up more doors. Just because I say something does not mean it is the universal truth. You got your own truth, you got your own mind, and I'm not here to twist or manipulate your mind or make up your mind for you. Only you can do that. And I ask you to do the same thing for everyone else. So when you catch yourself micromanaging, as we all do that, we just get better at it, better at catching ourselves, and we can micromanage people in our minds by thinking certain things. And then you know what you will notice? And this is actually a really fun game, as I would like to refer to. is you will notice the things that you're thinking about, your ideas that you come up with that you don't say out loud and share with that person, they come up with those ideas themselves. And you don't have to say anything because you are already connected with people and they already have that knowledge that you do as well. But when you call them out on it, they don't want to hear it because now it's not their idea. Now I don't want to do it because you told me to do it. I don't want to do it. But when they come up with that idea on their own, they are already bought in, they're sold. All you gotta do is encourage them and support them and not in the reminder, but just encourage and support them. And one thing might be hard initially to do, and I don't want you to do it, is taking credit for what they came up with. Even in many cases, you might have planted that seed and you told them something and you shared something with them. And then now, days, weeks, months, or even years later, they come up with that same idea and they claim it as theirs. And for the ego within us, it might be really hard not to say, I told you that. I shared that with you. It was my idea. Because if you do that, they'll be less likely to do anything. And then they also look at you in a more of a negative way, I'll refer to. And this is where when you just let them go with it, whether it was your idea or somebody else's, doesn't matter. Because even you got that idea from someplace else. Whether you remember or not, you got that idea from somewhere. And your subconscious takes everything in it. It might have been you even scrolling through social media, just going through really quickly and not stopping at anything. And your subconscious takes everything in. It registers everything. And that's another reason why there's a lot of general anxiety that is actually created and put into us through social media. Is you took some information from that really quick scroll and you weren't even aware of that, and then you'll come up with a genius idea and you will think and believe it is yours, and you'll share it with someone else because you came up with that even though someone else has, and then before them someone else had. I want to remind each and every one of you of something that you probably already know, is that there's such thing as the database of universal knowledge. Many people refer to it as the Akashic Records. It's essentially, I'll refer to it as an invisible library of all existence that has ever existed, all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions, experiences, all these different things that has been put into this library that no one physically sees, but we can all tap into it. Right? It's like the ultimate knowledge and how that has been collected there. And we all tap into it, whether we are consciously aware of our tapping into that library or not. There are many people who can tap into that library consciously and download information. And then they know things without knowing where it came from. They just know things. And then the rest of the people will say, you're just crazy because that's how you know things. But, crazy takes about 6 months to be proven uncrazy. So who's really crazy in the end? Okay, now let's talk about how you start to recognize surrender, which you already do. There are parts of your life, your business, and your career where you already have surrendered. And I want you to tap into that feeling and emotion, because at the end of the day, control is a feeling and emotion. Surrender is a feeling and an emotion. You want to tap into those emotions and feel them. And that's how you practice more surrender. So with surrender, you become passive. You avoid action or responsibility because you trust in the process. You trust in the universe, and you also know, and this is where you avoid action, that you don't need to take any action because you're trusting and you're surrendering to the process, and things will work out. Now, when it comes to some business or life or career actions, some of them you cannot avoid. And this is where you tap into control and you use control and you get that situation under control and you get things done and you do things. While other things, you're forcing them too much, like that pencil that's about to snap. And this is where it's actually when surrender is overdone. There's a fine line between you surrendering and then when it's also overdone. So when it's overdone, that's when you become passive. So I guess I forgot to mention that we're talking about overdoing control and overdoing surrender. And this is where you find that balance in between and you're not overdoing one or the other. You don't want to overdo surrender and you don't want to overdo control. It's a fine dance. And you want to learn how to dance it as graceful as you can. So when you catch yourself being passive and avoiding action and avoiding taking responsibility, you've gone too far with surrender. Surrender does not mean abandoning ship and closing your eyes and saying, okay, my ship is going to get me to where it's meant to get me. No, you still got to navigate. You still got to do the check-ins to make sure that you're still going where you're trying to get to, where you're meant to go, where you have set course and now you're following the navigation that you have set for yourself to where you want to get to. So now another way how you can tell if you have surrendered too much, when you've overdone surrender, is just like I was talking about, there's a lack of direction. You don't have a clear view or path of where you're going. You've surrendered way too much. You've overdone it. And it will lead you to feeling stuck. How many of you have felt stuck or perhaps are feeling stuck right now, where you start to recognize that you have surrendered everything to trusting that everything will work out and you're not taking action? I'm going to use example with some of the money stories because I know this is a touchy story for everyone. I have been there myself, and I will tell you from my own experience that when you surrender to the universe, that all your finances work themselves out and they will all get dealt with on their own, they won't. If you don't take action, don't pay the bill or the bills, no one is going to pay them for you. The universe is not going to go into your bank account. It's not going to go into your finances and sort them out for you. You got to do them yourself. And this is where control needs to be balanced with surrender. Meaning, you don't need to feel stressed and exhausted and overwhelmed with all of the finances, with you even paying the bill. You surrender and you find yourself feeling calm and peaceful as you're dealing with these things. But it takes practice. So there are things that you still need to take action, but afterwards, step away. That's it. The bill's paid, everything is done. Now I surrender and allow the universe to do the rest. Okay. Now, the next one is you reply too much and you rely too much on external forces to make it happen. Just like I gave you the example of. You got to find the middle ground, meaning you got to set clear intentions, define what you want, right? The control, but release the attachment to how it will unfold and surrender. You decide what you want, set that clear goal, and then you release and allow it to unfold itself. Trust. So, example will be you prepare your best for a job interview or for a call. You prepare your best, but you also now learn and practice trusting the right opportunity will find you. You go into the actual interview. You've prepared for the interview. You walk in and you trust that you're going to get the job. Get rid of doubt. Doubt is another form of trying to control a situation or an outcome. Release that. Let that go. It is not serving you. Focus on actions and not the outcome. You can control your effort. You can control what you do. You can control your attitude, but not the results, not the actual outcome. You can go fully prepared for that interview, but you cannot twist anyone's arm to hire you. You can pour your energy into what you can do, but then trust that the rest will unfold and work out the way that it is meant to. That no matter what happens, the universe has your back and it will always lead you to the best outcome, even though initially it might not sound or feel like it. Also, practice a mindful check-in. Are you asking yourself, am I holding to this goal or to this plan too tightly? Am I suffocating it? Am I putting way too much into this one goal? Am I avoiding responsibility under the disguise of surrender? That's a really good one, isn't it? Ask yourself, are you avoiding responsibility or avoiding taking action and disguising it as I surrender, I trust the universe? I've done that for years. And I thought, and sometimes it is actually, not sometimes, it is part of the process. Because in order for you to really trust, learn how to trust and learn what surrender is and what it isn't, you must experience it. In order for you to know what control is and what it isn't, you must experience it. So you gotta sometimes experience the extreme to learn from it, so you can then apply what you've learned and not get too far with the surrender and not overdo it and be in control, and yet you're not in control, because you are in control when you let go of control and you learn to take action when you're meant to and adjust accordingly. Here's how you can balance both. For surrender, practice mindfulness or practice meditation to cultivate trust and help you to be more in the present moment. Journal about what's outside your control. Journal about it. Write about it. Talk about it with your therapist, with your coach, with your counselor, whoever you are working with that is an expert that can help you through whatever it is that you need help with. Journal about it. Get it out of your head. And then let it go. What else can you do about it? If there's nothing else you can do about it, then why allow that to take over your mind, your body, and take your joy away and your happiness away? Let it go. If there is something you can do about it, then do something about it. Engage in healthy habits, practices, rituals that connect you to a higher power. Tap into the higher power. Go into the Akashic records. If you don't know how, go to YouTube. I'm not an expert on that, but go to YouTube, and because that's how I did it. That's how many people do it. And then YouTube, type in Akashic record meditations, guided meditations, or even how do I access the Akashic records, or the universal database of knowledge, and go and do that and follow, and you'll tap in there. Maybe go out in nature, reconnect with yourself and with your inner child. Heal your inner child as well. Now, with control, you can block your times. Block your time or plan and structure your day accordingly. Block out those times. It's like if I schedule a call with someone and my calendar is not blocked off, number one, I might not remember and not show up. And number two, somebody else can schedule themselves in there, or I can double book or double schedule. And then it'll be outside of my control. And then, of course, I'm going to feel like total crap. Oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I'm this and this and that. So that's why it's important to block that time. If I don't block my lunch hour, then I'm not going to have lunch. If I don't block the times to do these live videos, then I'm not going to be doing these live videos because someone else will either schedule themselves in or I will forget and I won't have that reminder. Time blocking is a powerful tool. Set alarms, set reminders so you don't miss the things that you want to be present for. Those are the things that you are in control. And then surrender without having to remember those things and trust that your phone or your alarm will go off and remind you. That's a great example that we can all apply into our lives. Things that are important. You want to put them in your calendar. I even, I do facials for my husband once in a while, and he'll message me and say, I would love a facial today. So I'll put him in my calendar so that way I have a reminder that comes up, or sometimes I'll set an alarm. So I have a reminder that tells me, facial for James. Like, okay, it's your time. Let's go. There's been a couple of times that I put him in the calendar and I sent him the calendar invite and he thought it was really funny. And then he actually liked it. So why not? Use the tools that you have. And also on top of that, create small actionable steps towards your goals. Most people don't even know how to set their goals. And I see this all the time with, honestly, every single woman that I work with, that they don't know how to set their goals. And if you don't know how to set your goals, how are you going to set your goals? And then what's even scarier is that if you don't know how to set your goals, then how are you going to set those small actionable steps to achieving your goals? And then how are you going to know that you actually get there? How are you going to know how to get there? Most people live a life of, I'll give you the example of they get on a ship. They have no navigation systems. They have no clear destination of where they're going. And they get on the ship expecting to get where they're meant to get to. Now, that ship will never leave the harbor. It'll stay there and it will spin. It will go all these different directions. And maybe, just maybe, it'll get out of harbor. Into where? The open ocean. And then what? You get lost at sea or in the ocean. That's how most people live their life. That's how I live most of my life too. Why do you think they don't teach this stuff at school? They don't teach people about chasing their dreams and their goals because they want you to take a bribe to put your dreams and your goals at bay. And the bribe is called a paycheck. Think about that for a minute. Took me not very long to, in some ways, get angry at the system. And then also at the same time, it's not in my control. There are other people who are working to change the system. And there's only so much I can do. And I'm not going to waste my time and my energy doing that. All I can do is what I love doing. I have my gifts. I have things that I love and enjoy doing. And everybody else has theirs. It's outside of my control. Another way how you can have more control is reflect on your past successes to remind yourself that you're more than capable, that you got it. And no matter what, you always figure out a way and you always come out on top. Always. Even if it takes a little bit longer to come out on top, you always end up coming out on top. Now, embracing uncertainty and seeing it as growth is going to be another important reminder. Life and your career or your business are unpredictable. You can plan all you want, but I'm sure you've heard this phrase: a man plans and God laughs. It's because we can plan all we want, but there's a higher power that knows what's best for us. And it's not to say that don't plan. Planning is important. Planning gives you clarity. It gives you a destination, and you go on the destination and you do that thing that you're doing. Like I said earlier, in the process, you will figure out if your goals and your dreams and whatever it is that you're chasing after, are they actually truly yours or are they someone else's? If you keep going after them and you keep getting closer and closer, that means they're for you. And at the same time, there are roadblocks. If it's meant to be for you, you will work through those roadblocks and you will get to that goal and that destination. But in the process, you might also uncover, no, I'm actually not interested. I really don't want that. That's not for me. It was somebody else's idea, or I changed my mind. I don't want that anymore. Sometimes, and we've all done this, where we think we want something, and then when we have that thing, we realize, no, I actually don't want it. And learning to let that go. And the magic happens when you do your best, but leave space for surprises. Allow the universe to surprise you. And it can be fun because then you see how it can actually surprise you. Often the greatest opportunities arise when you let go of your rigid expectations. This is why if you set your goals, don't be too rigid and so stuck on achieving this specific goal. Allow the space for surprises, that what you're meant to achieve might be greater than that goal that you set. And it often is. And remain open to the possibility or the possibilities that you couldn't even imagine. So, how is that for surrender versus reality and helping you to find balance between, or balance in your life, in your job, and in your career? I would love to hear what was your biggest takeaway from today that you can actually start implementing today. Action is important. And in order for you to even practice surrender, you gotta put some things in motion. You do. It's like a merry-go-round. Sometimes you gotta put in a lot of energy, a lot of effort to get that merry-go-round to go. But then once it's going, you're like, okay, I trust that it does not need me to force it anymore, and to just come and check on it once in a while. Come and tap. And it'll keep spinning and spinning and spinning. And then with other things in your life, you set them in motion once and you're done. It's like another, I don't know what it's called, but I'm sure you've seen it. It's like a desk decoration or noisemaker, I like to call it, where there's balls hanging on like on strings, and they're hanging like this, and all you do is you lift one ball to get it going, to get it started, and you let go. And then the two end ones will keep going forever and ever and ever and ever. Which is a reminder that there's certain things in your life you gotta do just once and then let them be and surrender. Because if you go and try to catch the ball and redo it, you might mess it up and you'll have to restart it. So that's all I wanted to share with each and every one of you. Thank you, everybody, for being on here. I don't see any comments on my phone, so let me actually take a really quick peekaboo on my computer to make sure that I'm not missing any comments. Gotta refresh it. because I don't, I like to respond to comments while I am live, because I can answer things in a much more deeper way than I could if I was just typing things out. Yeah, so there's quite a few. Hey, Kimberly, how are you doing? Beautiful. Good morning to you, or afternoon. Yes, you're right. Almost afternoon. Hey, Katie, good afternoon to you as well. And Kimberly said, I'm back. My son was on the phone. Thank you for coming back. Rebecca was on here. Hashtag live. Hey, Rebecca, how are you doing? Beautiful. Rebecca says, I can't watch lives from her personal page and doesn't know why. Honestly, if anybody knows what is getting in the way of people being able to watch a live video live, please share it. I'm sure, Rebecca, you already tried restarting the phone and deleting the app and reinstalling the app, because sometimes that can do the trick or not. Okay. And then Rebecca says, definitely, I find it fascinating how impactful the simple practice of self-reflection and asking specific questions is. It honestly, it's fascinating and it's incredibly impactful. And this is one of the biggest reasons why I love what I do. Because as a coach, I get to ask very deep questions that sometimes are uncomfortable, and the person gets to process and reflect and learn more, and it's so powerful because these are the questions that we normally would never ask ourselves, and having someone outside of us ask us those questions allows us to really understand ourselves and see ourselves in a different way that we never even thought of. So having someone outside of us can make all the difference in the world. I know it has for me, and I've worked with many different coaches, and I continue to work with a coach because there is so much more that I can learn about myself and about how I want to, which direction I personally want to go into, and for the business as well. And then Rebecca says, it's a higher level of thinking to accept the bad with the good. To accept. Yes, it definitely is. It's level 6 and 7 energy. Those of you who are aware of the Energy Leadership Index assessment as a tool that helps you to see yourself and understand yourself through the 7 lenses of the energy. And actually, interestingly enough, they aligned with the chakras perfectly well. Okay, and that I believe is it. Kimberly says, I need to take my time back. Then it's time to take your time back and not wait for permission. Find ways how you can take your time back. What does that look like? What does it sound like? And where would you start? Because we can't just take it all back. You got to start little by little and reclaim our time. And that will help us to find that balance. And then Rebecca says, girl, Facebook isn't showing you're alive either. Facebook, they're shady. Sorry, Facebook, but not sorry. All social medias, they're honestly, I'm going to ask one question. I will leave it there because I'm sure all of you already know the answer. Why do you think people who create certain products, such as Facebook, such as whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or Coca-Cola, or any kind of product that a person creates, that they do not allow their children to use it and their family that they really love and care about? Why do you think that is? I'm going to leave it there. Okay. And yeah, Rebecca says still morning to her. Yeah, because you're 3 hours behind, so I totally get that. And then Kimberly says that she hasn't been able to go live on her page. Interesting. What is Facebook doing? What are they trying to hide? You know, who does it benefit if you stay physically, mentally, and emotionally, quote unquote, sick? Who benefits from it? I'm personally in the business of putting myself out of business, as I like to say. And that means that my goal is to help women to really get their shit together and escape that mental prison as soon as they can, through acquiring enough knowledge and tools to go at it on their own. Whether it's 3 months, 6 months, for some it might be 12 months, but after that you're on your own. You don't need anyone, or you already got everything, and you get to learn more as you go. So that is not how most of these companies that I have just mentioned, this is just to name a few, operate. They want people to come back, come back, come back, come back. I would love for you to come back to these weekly lessons, which I don't get paid for. They're free. And I love doing that. And I love sharing as much as I can. And sometimes it'd be oversharing, because I know that there's a lot of the things that you can take from here and learn and apply. And you will start to notice the changes. Right? That's it. And Veronica says it's a process, 6 years and still going. Yeah. Everything is a process. We can't, healing, we didn't get traumatized in one day. It took some time, and we can't expect for ourselves to heal all those traumas within one day either. It's going to take time, and your focus, your dedication, your ability to control things and yet surrender as well. So thank you, everybody. Looking forward to hearing what was your biggest takeaway that you can do something about, and what are you going to be doing about it today. Kimberly says, thank you, Yana. You're welcome. Jesse Wood says, thank you for today. And then Rebecca, you're welcome. Rebecca says, feel it to heal it, 100%, if not 1,000%. And Lisa said, I'm really cracking at it because of our conversations, self-realization from what we put into our relationship, even if it's what we are trying not to repeat. I am glad that you are applying what you're learning and really, really taking it in, and not just overdoing surrender. That you are in control, and you're taking control and taking charge and applying what you learn, and then experiencing and feeling what it's like to actually be in control, because there's only certain things that you can do. Put them in motion, say what you gotta say, speak your truth, and then the rest is up to the other person. And that's it. So thank you, everybody, and until we see each other next week, whether it's going to be on Monday at 11:45 for a card reading, or next Thursday for another one of these Get Your Shit Together weekly live guidance with myself, Yana Kasperczak, at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time. And until next time, have an amazing day, everybody, and a weekend. Bye.